takes a sec. Okay, and now we are live. All right, so you guys want to introduce yourselves, starting with Jasper?
Hi, I'm Jasper. I use exclusively they them pronouns, and I am a chaotic mess of sexuality that can usually be described as pansexual.
All right, Ed.
Hi, my name is Ed. I just pronouns, I guess, is he, him, and next person.
Is that me?
Oh yeah.
Uh, Hi, I'm Shay. The pronoun thing here is still a mess for me, but we're trying they them out, so we'll see how that goes. And pretty sure I'm pansexual.
Woo. All right, my name's Chris. I go by he, him, and I am a heterosexual male. All right, so today we're going to talk about gender and sexuality, and just in the name of pride. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is a lot of overall. We're going to talk about a lot of LGBTQ issues today. But for this section, we're going to focus on dating. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is Ed and I are heterosexual, and so we're kind of more so interviewing in this case. So uh, let's talk about and anyone can jump in at any point. So what's it like for those? I think both of you are in a cishet relationship. So what's that like?
Well, we're not in cishet relationships. We are in cishet presenting
Yes.
relationships.
Sorry.
Uh, well, when you get gendered, uh, because unfortunately, regrettably, Shay and I are not formless objects like we wish to be, and instead we look like traditional women, and we are dating men, which it's kind of strange in the community, really, at least for me, because I get brushed off a lot, even though like I both have a disconnect from my gender and I'm not straight. So when I openly in the community, I tend to get a little bit of pushback from it, and it's pretty irritating sometimes because, like, how else am I supposed to describe like how badly I belong? And it kind of gives me like a imposter syndrome from time to time. But I guess that's just like a typical thing of being non-binary, you know.
Shay, what about you?
Um, I still have a little bit of a disconnect just because I'm fairly new to the community. Um, but it is hard just because the same issues with that like Jasper has is that right now with growing my hair out for the wedding and everything, I look very femme presenting, and so it doesn't, luckily for me, it doesn't bother me as bad. Like pronouns for me generally aren't a huge issue. Um, but I will say sexuality wise, it gets kind of rough just because since I didn't accept my sexuality until after me and you had already been in a stable relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never been with a girl, people don't really accept me as part of the community.
Yeah. So here I'll ask a question, and then if Ed has questions, I'll let him ask. So, and you kind of just alluded to this. So because where you're in a cis presenting relationship, does that make it harder to explain to people on the outside of the LGBT um, group?
Yeah, for me at least, my dad, I love him and he's trying. But you know, anytime it gets brought up, his go-to is, well, you're marrying a man. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, but women are
That doesn't change
cute.
what I'm exactly. It doesn't change what I'm interested in.
Yeah, see, for me personally, it's not that hard convincing Taylor's family. Mostly because, funny story here, I almost dated Taylor's sister, who is she and I get along better now, but she's very, 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 very gay. And knowing that, it wasn't really quite hard to convince everyone else around me that, hey, yeah, I like girls. Uh, and it, I don't know, it was just pretty funny. But it's easier to do it with family and with like the online community for sure. But like other queer people in person, I think it's just a strange disconnect from the real queer community and the online queer community.
Ed, do you have any questions?
Well, I do have a few. Like for starters, what might be some of the issues that you might come to when it comes to the LGBT community and being in the relationships that you are just from the viewing of the outside? What may be some issues you might be coming?
Well, for me, it's that no matter how hard I try to convince certain people that I belong, they're just like, no. No, fucking gatekeepers. What can you do?
Uh, just for well, for me at least, what do you mean by gatekeeping or gate?
Gatekeeping and gatekeepers, that's a term that we use in the LGBTQIA plus community because there are we're a wide group of people. Basically, anyone who is not cisgender, heterosexual, and heteroromantic. Uh, those are like the only people that aren't queer, in my opinion, or part of the LGBT plus community. But a lot of people have different ideas as to what qualifies you to be gay enough or trans enough. And if you don't meet these people's requirements, then they brush you off as like a trender or something.
Yeah. Just not to bump in, but if your phones are like on vibrate, can you set them as mute? It's just an audio issue. Uh, but yeah, Ed, you had any other questions?
Yeah, that was
Hey,
kind of
that's not
one of
me.
the.
I'm trying to get it fixed. Sorry. It's not letting me go to silent for some. Okay, there we go. No, that's sound. There we go.
Thank you.
That's kind of one of the problems that I'm kind of having too, because if the whole situation is about finding equality and finding love in one another and just respecting each other's choices in the way they live and the way they love, why would there be any gatekeeping at all? Like if you support the movement, you support what the cause truly is, why would there be any issues when it comes to, you know, gatekeeping or anything like that? Like, um,
Well,
if
it's not coming from allies. Allies aren't the ones who are gatekeeping, it's other trans and LGBTQ people. Uh, they have this idea of what it means to be qualified, I guess. For instance, it happens a lot in the trans community, but examples of gatekeeping that I can give you are statements like you need dysphoria to be trans, or you need to transition and be on hormones, or you have to want to transition and be on hormones in order to be trans, or that
I will
non-binary
be
people
right back, y'all. Give
aren't
me.
real. Uh, it's it's mostly coming from within the community. There's a big thing about whether or not asexual people are allowed in the community, but I could honestly tell you right now that yeah, They are, but some people just have it in their heads that they need to close this off and protect this community, and that we're allowing too many different people in or something. But
Sorry, I
that
backed up.
So, what you're saying for our more conservative audience is they don't agree on the agenda, per se.
they don't agree on the agenda. Yeah. Now it's just basically, just to sum up what I said, people have this idea in their head, this little list full of check boxes, and if you do not check every single box, then apparently you don't belong in the community. Is incredibly frustrating.
And there would be my dogs.
Between your dogs and my
Somebody has a
baby, this is
question
gonna
in
be
the live chat.
fun.
Oh, I will. Yeah. So they say, miscellaneous makeup effects. May I ask something? Absolutely. Ask away, and we'll answer. And that takes about 6 seconds or so. Do you guys want to talk about like coming out to your partners?
I do have
Yeah. If you want to guys go ahead and start with that for a minute, I will be off mic for 1 sec.
Awesome.
Oh my goodness.
I do have one more question. What, like, how is it for you and your relationship, like being with a cis partner? Uh, how does that affect you, or if it does at all? Like, what does that entail for you?
It just makes it it just feels like since he's not exactly in what pride is, it's just a slight disconnect from being able to share all the joy of it with him. But other than that, it's not really anything too terribly difficult, you know. I mean, it's really not different. I mean, I don't really know how else to answer that question because it's not
Well,
really like anything, I guess.
Well,
so
I think you answered it, so thank you. I appreciate that.
so I got a question here for the chat. Um, so on the so miscellaneous makeup effects asks, would straight asexual people be a part of the community?
Romantic, asexual, yes.
This almost kind of reminds. So like I had a similar question about I think it was like poly relationships, like non-traditional relationships, and even that obviously those can be straight.
Yeah.
Are
They
those
aren't
included?
inherently included because it's not really a sexuality, it's more like a relationship practice.
Yeah.
If one of the partners like for example, let me go into mine and Taylor's relationship. We have been dabbling and we have dabbled in the world of poly before. But I wouldn't say that it makes it an LGBT relationship because I'm the one who is pansexual and non-binary. Taylor is cis, straight, all that. And my girlfriend or our girlfriend could be cis and straight or non-binary and bisexual. So the relationship itself, it's not exactly queer because there's not an overlapping thing there. It's just it's not inherently LGBTQ. It's
Yeah.
just individual members. It's more of like a relationship practice than a sexuality.
It almost seems like a lot of these questions are difficult because of like the existence of a spectrum. So because people can exist on a variety, you could have someone who identifies as straight but may have some attraction to men, for example.
Yeah, like a Markiplier.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep. He does love his Markiplier.
Yeah, I
Who
mean
doesn't?
that like it doesn't mean you would actually date them or have sexual interactions with them, but
Are
like
you sure,
everyone.
Chris? Are you 100% sure?
I don't know. You never know, but
Exactly.
the I think like it seems like the spectrum makes it super complicated because yeah, you could have someone.
Yeah.
It seems to be like it may like would you agree like it seems to be that uh a lot of people who are more open about their sexual and gender identity are more likely to be interested in a little bit more of non-traditional relationships or more exploratory, and that may be why there's those kind of weird, interesting links. Maybe.
Maybe I wouldn't really say that it's inherently that way. It's just that with more visibility within the poly community and more visibility within the queer community, we're just seeing a lot more of it, those connections and stuff. Because if you go back even like 10 years ago, like that would be such a taboo,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to have multiple partners. I mean, they made, if there's a TLC show about it, then it's
Yeah.
more than likely kind of like a gasp kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's not like it was more, it's much more welcoming and much more common now to see, I guess. But it's not necessarily that it's more of a link, I guess.
Also, just so y'all know, I am back on mic for good. Sorry about that. I should be done with any distractions now.
Amazing. I can't say the same for myself.
We had to get the vanity into here.
Oh goodness.
So
Yeah.
so Shay, do you want to talk about what it was like? So obviously you and I are dating, so I might know.
Obvious.
I got the inner scoop on this talk here, but what's it like? What's it like coming out to your partner?
It fucking sucked. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. There was so like you didn't know this until we discussed it recently, but before and it was kind of funny because I knew you would be supportive. Like I know you and I knew it would be fine, and yet I like sat on the floor of my hotel room for 3 hours crying over it.
Yeah, I'm like the just for the record, I'm like the super most chill person, but definitely didn't used to be that way. But yeah,
Yeah.
for me it was kind of like from my perspective it was kind of like, oh okay, cool, like it. But for you obviously it's such a huge moment.
Yeah.
Ed, did you have any uh, follow up questions?
As of right now, no. I am currently looking for the video
Ed, are you
of
online
which we're
shopping?
streaming
How
on.
dare you?
No, that's not me. Uh,
All
for
right.
one, I don't know how to online shop, so just if you're curious on that.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to figure out how to get to the stream via computer.
So I got more questions. So it was really difficult coming out to someone like obviously someone really close to you. Uh, what about strangers? Like is that common that you do that, or
Who
do you
comes
kind of
out
fill
to
it out?
strangers?
Well, what I'm saying is like at what point? So like at what point are you like fully out, or do you come out to? Like, at what point do you start coming out? Like, how do you tread that line of who you trust?
Well, it's pretty complicated because there are some friends that I have and it took me until because I've been openly non-binary for quite a long time. You've known that because you're like my oldest friend. Um, but I think you were one of the first. I don't even think I actually really ever came out to you, Chris, did I?
Not that I could honestly, not that I can remember. But
No, I was just kind of like, oh, hey, by the way, they, them. You're just like, cool. Like, I don't ever really recall coming out to you because I didn't think that I needed to. I just think it's something that, it's not a conversation that we had.
mhm.
This is what it's like out to friends. Sometimes it's a conversation, sometimes it isn't. Because I, honest to God, do not recall ever saying, Chris, I need to sit you down and have a heart. I'm non-binary. Like, that didn't happen. It was, I don't even think anything like that happened. It was just like oh, by the way, and then you kind of like got the idea, I guess.
Mhm.
But it's different for different people. Because on the one hand, that unspoken coming out, where people see it coming and you're
Mhm.
just like, all right. And then other times it's a years long process of trying to drop hints and then trying to eavesdrop on some of their opinions of things. I remember whenever I came out on accident, was because they're no longer a friend of mine, and which is why I've been much more cautious with how I come out. But they were making some nasty, nasty comments about transgender women and how trans people are mentally ill and whatnot. And it was me running out of the room crying, well, trying not to cry, and also trying not to beat her ass, and them figuring it the fuck out. Uh, and then other times it's more of like that heartfelt sitting down with it, like I did with my friend Melissa, trying to explain it, and then guess coming out really just measures a different variety of factors. How many questions you want to be asked, how many questions you're willing to answer, and whether or not you think like the risk is enough to do it, whether or not you're gonna lose this friend or whatnot. So it's coming
Yeah.
out to different people is like crazy. Coming out to friends, coming out to strangers, like I don't really think that that's a thing unless they're also very open, like visible, I
Mhm.
guess.
Like
But
But
it,
like
it's never fully
yeah.
over.
like imagine you're at Pride. It's kind of probably a little bit
Yeah,
more obvious.
yeah, it's a little bit unspoken.
Ooh,
And sometimes you can come out to strangers with like a t-shirt if they know what's up.
Mhm.
Like when we
heck
went
yeah.
to the Black Lives Matter rally, I had that shirt that said Public Universal Friend, which is big ol' queer coding because the Puff was a notable non-binary character throughout history. And having people see that, it's just signaling to strangers because who the fuck comes out to strangers?
That's a fair point.
I mean, all right, wait. I wanna, if I may, I wanna give you a little story time here. That's relevant.
Hell yeah.
So, I believe it was Chris. Was it last year when we went to Pride?
Oh yeah.
All right. So I was working at your local store that sells things for $1. Um, and I was a cashier, and this group of people came through, and they had rainbows painted on their face and everything, and it was obvious that they were getting ready for Pride. And I was in my normal uniform, nothing signaling anything. Anyway, they came through, and I was chatting with them while I rang them up, and I was like, I love your guys' Pride gear. And they stopped, and they looked at me, and they tilted their head and waited for a second because they weren't sure if I was being serious or not. And I just kind of like looked at them and I was like, I would go if I could. And their
Oh,
eyes
yeah.
lit up. And they were like, we're gonna be there until 12 tonight. That was the whole reason we ended up going, is because that one group of people, I was like, I have to go find them again. And so we went to Pride that night and I found them and it was great. But that is the time that I like very quietly came out to a group of strangers that I had never met before in my life.
Well, I guess that's fair, you know. My first Pride and my only Pride, rip. Uh, I went with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Do you guys remember who they are?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So
They
sad
sound
that we couldn't start a house. That's so sad. But I went out and the key staples of the sisters is white face. Just clown white makeup. And I had a giant ring across my eyes and my forehead, and I had like a little beard drawn on. And my drag name there was Dylan Drugs, and going around and about. And then, I guess it's different whenever you have, you know, obviously queer people that you want to be like, let me in, you know, but like, uh, in general with strangers, you know, it's just key because it feels dangerous.
Yep.
Because you never know who's going to be okay with it and who's going to harass you, grope you, or
Stab you.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For someone who isn't a part of the community but has a friend or acquaintance that is a part of the community, how would you suggest them going about asking them questions? Like, I remember when I went up to you, Jasper, and I was like, "Hey, can I ask you some questions?" And you're like, "Sure." And then we talked about different things. But is there any other things that you might want to add to that, or suggest like how to go about doing that for someone who might be nervous or might not be so blunt and straightforward like I am?
Okay. Um, for one, uh, if your friend is already out, I say be blunt and go for it, but stay away from a good few topics, such as genitals.
Genitalia.
Genitals!
I still really just want to know why people are so fascinated about that.
I have no
I will
fucking
never
idea.
understand it.
I have no fucking idea. You know what a penis looks like. You know what a fucking vagina looks like. Why? Why do you gotta know?
Or you don't,
Find
but there's
out.
anatomy books.
Yeah,
There's
like
Pornhub.
Yeah,
why?
well,
I will never understand society's morbid fascination with genitalia all the way from like before you're born. It's crazy.
well, I don't have any experience in this, but I would assume that it's just the process of going from A to B. So I mean, I'm just saying I'm not sure if that's actually true or not. But I think that's what might catch a lot of people's interest in the
Can
whole
I be
gender
can I be
genre. But I mean, there's
100%?
also Google.
Yep.
Can I be
There's a
100%
lot of
honest
people
here real
out there that
fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure what you mean when you say go from point A to B.
What's point B?
Are you talking about
I
What's
just
sexual?
point
mean
A,
like
man?
Ed, are you talking about like
What's
sexual?
point A?
Are you talking about sexually transition?
yeah,
Like
yeah. I'm
genital
not talking.
transition?
Okay.
Yeah,
Then
I'm not saying like A is this and B is
let
this. I'm
me
just saying doing that
let me
transition.
weigh in. If you want to know about A to B, mind your own fucking business.
Unless you're dating
Honestly,
them, you have no need to know.
yeah,
And
unless you're
even
dating
then,
them, and then if you shut the fuck up long enough, your questions will eventually be answered because then your trans friend will probably just plop down after trusting you well enough to be like, yada da da da, you know? Like, you don't need to know.
also
Well,
Ed,
That is
I want to make
I
it
mean,
clear
there's
that we're
also
not trying to be
Google.
aggressive towards you. It's just after hearing so many of my friends getting harassed about their genitals, I'm sick of it.
me
We're not being
too.
aggressive towards
Yeah,
you.
I'm not trying to be like aggressive towards you. I'm trying to be aggressive towards the audience who might potentially think that that's okay.
No, I understand. I'm
It's
not
not
taking
okay.
offense by it.
Like,
I'm not taking offense to it. I was just saying, but also, I mean, let alone if even if you don't have a trans friend that would actually go and do that, there's also Google. There's a lot of a lot of trans people that has gone through this process and willingly talked about it. I mean,
Yeah.
and wrote books about it and stuff like that,
See,
or have gone on podcasts and talked about the transition and the things that they've gone through. I mean,
Mhm.
so it going to someone and be like, hey, so tell me everything, give me the scoop. That's
Yeah,
not
that's
necessarily the right way.
a lot of emotional labor that you're wanting this person to provide you to try to
hmm
keep you up to date with everything, and it feels just way too personal, you know.
yeah,
Uh,
I think
It's
I,
yeah,
I I wonder if it. So a lot of people that ask, there part of them probably are genuinely curious, and so there's just that kind of.
for sure.
But I wonder how much of it is ideological because a lot of still a large majority of people that believe that like gender and sex are the same thing and are all determined by genitals. And so to
Well,
them to identify you, they like they want to know because that's supposedly how they think about gender.
that's just so strange. Like
Oh,
these
it
are like
is, yeah.
also the same kind of people who want you to be covered up from head to toe. You know, no cleavage showing, no butt cheek showing, but gosh golly, do they want to know if you have a vagina?
Yeah, it's really bizarre. Yeah,
I feel like it has to do with the fetishization of the trans community as well. Like, honestly, because a lot of people have this idea of i- it's just really gross fetishization of knowing like what's in our pants and what they can do with that.
for sure.
Uh,
I don't want like mean to butt in, so, but I think we have about like close to 25 minutes left. Is there a topic we really want to drive home? One that you really want to talk about?
well, we could continue on with our points here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to try to fill in. We just keep going down and go from there.
Okay,
This is why we rehearse, Chris.
all
Weren't
right.
you paying attention?
So, who was?
He never does.
All right. So, who was the first person you came out to, and why?
Like gender wise or sexuality wise?
Or both.
Both.
Just both in general. Like, who'd you come out as? Like, hey, now I'm Pride.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
them.
I'm pride.
I'm the
Pride.
pride. I'm the whole pride.
Well, I don't know all the
I
terminology.
am a
Okay,
walking rainbow. Respect me, damn it.
hey, there's a lot of people out there like that. So
I'm
Over.
Pride.
It's like I'm baby, but like, hey.
uh,
I don't really ever think that I came out. I can remember my first girlfriend. I was in 5th grade, and I got a girlfriend. I remember getting girlfriends at the public swimming pool for the day because, we were kids and whatnot. Uh, and I remember coming out to my teachers in conversation. And I always loved how it was that it was for me. Because they just never knew how to react to like an 11-year-old telling them that they like girls. Uh, Even though like they've been eavesdropping, it was like a personal conversation between my friend and I. And they had to pull me aside and be like, maybe you should closet yourself. And I'd said, maybe you can go fuck yourself. Like, I don't think I've ever like truly like been in the closet. However, I do have a memory of telling my mom um, about it, and I did it because her lesbian friend and her friend's girlfriend were there. So I felt like that was possibly like the safest that I could do it. And I remember just saying like, "Hey, by the way, I like girls." And what really pissed me off and made me determined to never ever ever be like this was that my mom's gay friend told me, "You're too young to be playing with them closet doors." Like, fuck you, Shannon. Like, I've known this whole fucking time. You're just late to the party of figuring it out. And I don't know. I've never really come out to anybody about my sexuality, but gender. I do believe that the first person I told was my friend Amethyst, because she and I were talking, and this was a couple years ago, back in 2016, 2017. I was talking with her, and because she and I had already been getting along so well, I figured that it was time to broach the subject and be like, hey, I've heard you talking about all this stuff, and I think that I'm non binary. And I told her because I knew what her reaction would be, which was, cool, awesome. So, what are your pronouns and all this stuff? Like, I chose her because it felt safe, you know? Uh, she wasn't anybody too closely related to me. She was a good enough friend that I was so close to her, but I knew that I could potentially risk it. And I would only be like a little bit hurt if she stopped being my friend over that.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
Awesome.
Cool. My turn.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
So sexuality wise, I think I came out to my friend Heidi first, and that's because she was in the room with me when I collapsed crying. There was no going back at that point. Especially because it all happened after we went to go see a drag show, and I was just very confused, and I just looked at her on the floor crying, and she just kind of nodded and was like, "Yup." And then so
That's the best way to react to someone crying.
just
Right.
nod and be like, "Yeah." Well, no, she comforted me, but like she could tell what was going on, and she was like, "Oh."
Could you imagine that? Like, you're just sitting there bawling your eyes out, and then someone walks up to you and goes, mood.
All right, listen. That's kind of me and my roommate's like relationship. Is like there have been so many times that she's come into our room and I'm sitting on my bed sobbing over anything, and I do it a lot. And so she just kind of nods her head and is like, "Yeah," and then goes to do her homework. I love it. Like they always know I'm okay, but
Oh, yeah.
Mood.
So gender-wise, this is where it gets complicated for me, because back in high school, middle school, I don't know, some kind of school, at one point I was like, I might be gender fluid. And so back then it was my ex-best friend Alex that I told first, and then I was like, no, I'm okay, I'm just me. And so I didn't identify as that for a long time there. And now recently, I think that happened several times, by the way. Like this, this has been a struggle, y'all.
Yeah, coming out is a process.
It's happened to me like 3 times where I was like, "Am I? No. Am I? Maybe." So I honestly can't even tell you who I came out to first. I don't think I came out to any of y'all. I think it was just like, "Hey, I'm gonna go get some boy clothes," and y'all have been like, "Sure, have fun."
I don't know. You came out to me last week by
On the
announcing,
stream.
yeah, on the stream in casual conversation.
Oh my bad. You were like, "Oh, that's good to know."
I just kind of slipped it right in there, just
Well,
nonchalantly.
the thing is that the only reason that I wanted to really know, and the only reason that I had that reaction to it was, if you would have told me sooner, I could have switched up my pronoun game faster. You know?
Yeah, so here's the thing for me with
I
pronouns.
could have
is
supported you sooner, damn it.
This whole thing with the
Let me
pronouns
love
has
you.
been weird because I've never really cared about what I've been called until more recently, and then like this past year, this is gonna sound so dorky, but I was in a D&D game and I was playing a male character, and so in those times, there were a couple of those nights where I was having just very masculine presenting nights, and I went and then being like, anytime they called me like she, even like out of character or whatever, I finally looked at them and I was like, if you call me that one more time, I swear my spine is going to slide out of my skin. Like it is physically painful. Please stop. And I
Yeah.
only have those reactions every now and then. But generally I don't care.
Well, that's the thing about dysphoria, you know, that being, even if you aren't being misgendered, but being perceiving.
Oh,
You cut out there.
hello.
Jasper Jas.
Uh-oh, we're having technical difficulties. All right, time for backup plan. Oh, hello.
Hi.
Okay.
God fucking damn it.
All right, you are back.
My internet is shit. Uh,
Well,
where did
my
I leave off? Where did I leave off? Asshole puckering? Or
Nope, way
What?
before that.
Well, before that, I don't know.
You said that's the thing about dysphoria, even if it's like just presenting, and then you stopped.
even if it's just how you're being perceived, like if you are perceived, if you perceive that you're being misgendered, like it really just makes your asshole pucker. That's where that point ties in.
Gotcha.
That's an interesting way to describe
Okay.
it. All
All
right.
right. So, so what is gender?
A mess. It's a big old spectrum of shit. That's a hard question to answer, really.
Ooh, can I?
Yes, Shay, you can.
Have you ever seen a tangled ball of yarn?
Yeah.
That's gender for you, right there. That's what it
Well, I
is.
mean, that's a good analogy. Now,
Flip fucking
alright.
shit, I swear to fucking God.
Hi.
Same.
Oh,
Rude.
hello.
Have I ever told you, Jasper, how I love how aggressive you are?
I'm sorry, my internet got like cut out again, and I guess it reconnected before my little rant was over.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I love how
Well,
aggressive
there's
you are.
egg on my face now.
I'm sorry, what?
Okay, well, do you have anything to add to that?
Because I said that gender
Wait.
is like a tangled ball of yarn.
Yeah, I deal with tangled yarn daily, trust me. Literally and figuratively. But gender is an inner reflection of, I guess you could really say that it's your inner reflection of societal norms, I guess, because gender is a social construct, very, very much. I guess it's your own inner perception of that social construct, I guess. Now, for me,
wow.
a non-binary label is like female is a shirt that is three sizes too small. Male is a shirt 2 sizes too big, which is occasionally comfortable, but non-binary fits me just right. It is a tailor-made suit. You know, that's really the only way that I can describe it. It just fits.
I will never not laugh at you saying tailor-made.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh.
Kennedy.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh, when you use that analogy, all I think about is like, this porridge is too hot. This porridge is too cold.
This gender is just right.
Okay, so what's the difference between gender and sex?
Sex is like
Or the difference is?
sex is more
sex,
of like a
sex is 3 times a week.
lucky.
Shut up, Chris. And we both know that ain't happening right now.
I'm gonna be honest.
Continue on the
listening,
differences, please.
So I don't even know what just happened.
Chris gets laid 3 times a week. That's what we said.
By who? I don't even live there.
Myself.
That's why I said that ain't happening.
Oh, ow. My cat is attacking me.
You
Thank
know, I
you.
Oh,
bet
there
you.
we go. It's the
Yeah.
cat.
I bet
for
you.
letting us in on your masturbation habits, Chris.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
Next time, let's keep that out of the stream, though.
Yes.
Who
Eh,
cares?
I'm sorry, that joke
Me.
was totally uncalled for. My apologies.
Anywho,
I
so
got
what are
friends
the
listening to this.
differences between sex and gender before Chris interrupts and ruins the whole train of thought?
well, sex, it's more like the assigned sex. There are it's mostly like chromosome makeup. Uh like you know, the casual XY XX that most people think of. But you know, there's also intersex people who are XXY, XYY, XXXY, just X,
So it's
just Y.
biology.
You know, there's a whole bunch of biology point to that. But gender is it's just different. It's just the inner reflection of the self that you express outwardly.
I
So it so for my understanding of what you just said, like gender is so much as how you perceive yourself and how you reflect with the world, as sex is just your chromosomes and what they come up to. And there's actually more than two sexes that people normally think of. There's actually a huge spectrum
Mhm.
of possibilities.
Yep.
Yep.
But before you say anything, Ivory Turner says, "Preach."
Bitch,
Yeah,
about
yeah.
what?
Hi, Ivy.
You got you. It was when you were talking about the shirt sizes and one being 3 sizes too small and one being 2 sizes too big.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah. Woohoo! Uh, gender identity. Yay! Uh, yeah, it's just uh, gender is just how you want people to perceive you. Sex is just chromosomes.
All right, case closed.
Okay.
Hold on.
Problem
One
solved.
second.
Okay, so so we answered.
Well, this would be
Yeah, are there more than two genders?
I can't tell if Ivy is about to ask a question or if that was just letting us know what her preach was in reference to.
Hello, about the gender.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm waiting to see if it's gonna follow
They
it
were
up.
just talking. They were
Oh,
just
okay.
answering the question.
No, there are not two genders because there are not even two sexes.
All right.
Yeah, we already covered
Yeah.
those, Chris.
Okay, so
With the program, yo.
all right. Next question.
Should I'll let you answer.
Okay.
We are
I-
getting close to 8 o'clock, so we might figure out what we want to wrap up with.
Okay, so maybe not that one. That one's a big topic.
Yeah.
What about
Well,
the
we could
difference
just.
between gay and queer?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do it.
that's a good one.
Um, gay, these are both terms that are used to like broadly overlap as like catch-all terms. First of all, queer, I know I say it a lot because I identify as queer. Sometimes a lot of people see that because it has been used as a slur, but you know, reclamation, woohoo, take all the power back. But the difference there is that gay is just kind of like a catch-all for part of things. You know, if you're bisexual, trust me, Shay and I both, I think, can say like we've said I'm gay, like plenty of times
Yeah.
in explanation for our sexuality because it's just the easiest thing to say without getting into it. It's just like that catch-all, like, you know, I'm a lesbian, or just like I'm gay, I'm bisexual, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, you know. It's just so easy to just explain that with sexuality because people hear gay and then they know that you're uh, uh, either homosexual or bisexual.
You're a
Uh,
part of the community in some way, shape, or form.
yes. And then queer, however, has to do more with a different identity. Queer itself is an identity. I personally identify as queer. because I am neither cis nor het. I'm non-binary and I'm pansexual, and there's no part of me that, like, I can't explain my gender away by saying I'm gay. I mean, I really could. uh, but it's, hold on, let me regather my thoughts.
No.
It's just the fuck you, Shay. The casual explanation for that disconnect between gender identity and sexuality, because for me, there's a good meshing of both in there. You know, a disconnect from both traditional heteronormative sexualities and disconnect from cisgender identities. So that's why I use queer, and a lot of people do too.
Traditionally, wasn't it used as like an insult?
Yes. It the dictionary definition, it means weird, and strange. And when several years ago, if you were strange or if you were weird, you had a giant target on your back.
Mm-hmm.
And so queer really was used to make sure that people knew that they were going to be targeted, that they were unsafe, that they were unwelcome.
Yeah. So, what do you think about? So obviously, then it's been used as a kind of like a slur. What do you guys feel about like the essentially straight people when they use that word?
Well, you know how you can give out like free passes to your friends to be like, yeah, cool, you can use that with me.
Yes.
I mean, I feel that way with several people, but I wouldn't recommend saying it because it is a slur. It's kind of the same way that I can say dyke, but you can't. The same way that I
Kind
can
of
say
depends on
bag
the
and you
person.
can't. You know?
Mm-hmm. If they're you just want to
It
make sure the
depends on
person's
the person.
comfortable. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people like me just we don't like those certain words from anybody. For
Yeah.
me, dyke, fag, any of those words are just they just leave a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah. They did for me for a very long time, but I've tried to also reclaim it. You know, I refer to myself on my more butch days as like a bull dyke, because these are all terms that have been used against me. You know, terms that have been used to bully me and try to make me feel bad about myself. But by
Joke's
me
on them.
personally,
I feel bad about myself either way. Sorry.
yeah, yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
It kind of reminds me of like when people use these like terms, and then one of my favorite responses I've seen is like, "So what?" You know, that kind of thing. And so kind of reclaiming it kind of seems like that kind of response.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, and
Yeah, exactly. It's because it shows exactly that they're trying to use it as a bad term.
mm-hmm. Well, that's the big thing with queer though, is that giant like community wide reclamation. Um, because there are specific facets, you know, with whatever, I
Yeah.
guess, and who can use it and who can say what. Um, really, the big thing is just being respectful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you don't know, and if you are unsure of whether or not you can say it, that's probably a good indication that you can't say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that? What's the that makes me think of the John Mulaney saying where he's like, if you're comparing two words and you won't even
Can
say
you
one of
say
the
one of the
words,
words?
that's the
That's the
worst
worst
word.
word.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ivory Turner says, "Man, I want to join y'all cast. Y'all are awesome. Thank you."
Ivy,
Why,
you
thank
can
you.
Thank
definitely
you
join
very
us at
much.
some point. We would love to have more LGBTQ people on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna take over this channel, damn it.
Please.
we're gonna be doing multiple episodes talking about LGBT. But thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions, we'll try to check this chat before we go into our next
Next
episode.
week's.
For next week, we're gonna try to do one at least once a week, and we're gonna try to do it around 1 hour. So thank you again for tuning in, and we appreciate it. Does anybody else have anything left to say to close this out?
I'm too tired to function, so no.
Boobs are cool. I don't know.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Ooh,
think we
let's
all
end
agree
on
here.
that. Sounds good.
All right.
All
All right.
right.
Thank you for tuning in, and
Bye,
goodbye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.